Okay, so let's begin. So the first part will be like I'll be showing those websites which I like particularly. Like we got 31 or 32 submissions, and out of these, the ones which are open right now, I like them the best. Like these people use CSS and other things, so like maybe they know advanced things. So for those people whose website didn't get selected because they use the basic things which we have taught so far, it's not an issue. You'll get selected later on when you make better websites. It's just because these people made extraordinary ones. That's why we selected them. Okay. So this one is from Ayush Gupta 11R. So like, he made a table and you can see it's really good. Um, then there's this one from Muhammad Raza Khan. He's from 10J. Again, a very good website. Then we have from Pritam Datta, but this one I accepted just because I like the sense of the content. Like it was really well organized. I, I'll also paste these links in the chat or the video description on YouTube and once we upload it. Then there's this one from Anirudh Mukherjee 12S. This is this person literally took the pain of making a whole website which is functional with multiple pages. Like these pages work. Like if I click it, it will link me to another page. So it's a very good website, Anirudh. Then we have from Arif Maji. He's from 10D. Yes. His website even uses JavaScript. He's experienced in that. So he used that to calculate these marks. Also, Archishman, sorry, we gave you 0 marks. So that's between you two. Um, then we have from Kavya Goswami. She's in 11K. This is a really good website again. It uses CSS. So it's simple, but it's good. The I like the design. So and then we are from Soham Nag. He's from 10I or 10L. Sorry, I can't recall it. But yes, let's see this one from over here. Like this one had animations. See, like there was delaying animation. So like it came one after the other. So I like this really. This was really good one. Um, and then there was normal content. Then we have from Samayita. Again, her website was about a social issue. And it's portrayed last one from Ashmita Mukherjee, 12M. Once again, a really good website. It's simple. It uses CSS up to some extent, but the content is really nice. So if I want to maybe in Discord or in the YouTube description. So just do not remove the code. And does anyone have any questions? Like when making these websites, you must have come across certain things. So did you encounter any issue? Like I guess some of the most common problems which people face was hosting files. So we suggested using Netlify. See, the reason I suggested using Netlify is because if the files are hosted, then I can run up validation on it, and then I can check the errors. Like those people who uploaded their websites on GitHub pages or Netlify, they received a link in return from me from the responses where I pasted a link where they could check out the errors in their website. Right. So let's check the case. What's validated? Basically, when you when you create a website, you use some HTML syntax and you write things right. So like even if you write it just so that it makes some sense, it will be run by browsers. But when you host these files, the chances of it getting indexed by the crawlers reduces if it's not structured. Like even like see, structure is not like you don't have to be a professional in that field, but just ensure that your file follows correct syntax. Like do not use outdated stuff. Do not use things which are technically wrong. So I'm not criticizing this person's website, but let's take the case of this person's website. So Ayush Gupta. Um, so this one. I'll be copying the link and I'll be showing you how this works. I can even upload a local file. I'll not be showing that right now. I'll be checking an online website. I'll paste this link and then I'll click on check. So when I do that, and then it will show me what problems this website had. My voice is lagging. Okay. Um, if there's an issue, then just tell it in the chat. So no response from your end.
So I guess Gaurav is facing some internet connectivity issue. So by the way, is anyone having any doubt from previous week's session? Like anything? Okay, so let's move on with today's topic. So let me share my screen. Okay, so today we will be starting off with forms. Okay, so forms are just another way to take input from the user. Okay, so let's name it index.html.
Shivansh, so
Yeah.
Nishant has a doubt with tables. He's written that in chat.
Oh, thanks for telling. Okay, so yeah, Nishan, you can put it in the chat or you can speak out. You can unmute yourself and tell them what the doubt is. Nishan, are you okay? So after creating a row, what do we do? We add the border and stuff. Okay, so are you talking about how to add borders to the row? Okay, so if you want to add borders to the row, okay, so it will be much easier with CSS. Okay, so we haven't started with CSS as of now, so we will be starting off with it in this session only. So after I'm done with the form, I will teach the CSS using table itself. So at that point, everyone will be able to understand that. Okay, so for now, let's just create a form. Okay, it is okay for with you now. Okay, so form is just a way to get data from the user. So suppose you want to create a website which collects data regarding the favorite subject of the students in our school. Okay, so the first thing which you need to take as an input is the name itself. Okay, so you can create a span tag, name, and then you need something in which they can put in their name, right? So we will use, there is a tag with input and it has different attributes. Okay, so you can see here, okay, not here, let me do without emit. Okay, so there are different types. Type is just an attribute like you had height and width in image. Similarly, in input tag, you have type attribute. So here you can have different types of attributes, different types of values for the type attribute. So let's start with simple text. Okay, so what this will do is that I think it is okay. Let me reopen this.
So what is the function of action again?
Okay, so action as of now, like when we will be starting with backend, then you can understand that, but it just tells what to do when submit button is clicked. But since we are not doing backend as of now, so whatever form you will be creating as of now, it will not collect the data. It will just be a static page with no backend. So even if you write any data, it will not be stored in some uh, in some server. Okay, so it will just be a simple page. So for now you can avoid that, but once when we will start with backend, at that point of time we will be teaching what the action is, and we will be working with form itself. Okay, so now you can see here I can write my name. Okay, so this is how you can take text input. Since we have not started with CSS, so I'm using the BR tag, but it is not recommended. Okay, so then next thing can be class. Okay, so class, you want it as a number. Okay, so you can just a second. Ayush password. Uh, Input can be of if it is a class, it will be a number. So the number one, the difference between number and text, if you look like this, it is looking very similar, but the difference is that you get these two extra buttons kind of a thing. So with this you can reduce it, and we have not added this, we have just written input type is number, so HTML is automatically giving us this. Okay, so you can reduce the number, and if here you will like someone uh, tries to write 9, class 9, so if someone tries to write NINE, so E is okay. So in maths, E is a value. E has a value. So E is taken as you can enter E, but if you type in NICV, nothing is getting accepted. Okay. So okay. So everyone is understanding what I'm saying, right? Is there any doubt?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we will be talking about label in this session itself, but yeah, you can use label. So okay, so let's now move on. Another thing can be, now you also need to know the section. Okay, so here you can have section. Okay, so you want section not to be as a text. So someone, if you write it as text, so anyone can enter any random value, like okay, my mouse is admit. Okay, so in place of section, someone can write ABC. Okay, so you don't want this. You know that uh, for this example, let's take only 4 sections. So you want a drop down menu. Okay, so for a drop down menu, you can use the select tag. For now, you can ignore the name and ID we will be covering up in this session itself. So you can ignore name. It will be used when we will be starting off with backend, then getting the data at that point of time. We will be requiring name, but for now you can ignore that. Here we will have a BR tag, then span and section. Okay, so yeah, inside of select, so select tag creates a drop down menu like this, but as of now there are no options. So in order to add options, you can use the option tag, and let's say 4. So value A, B, C, and D. Okay. Oh, sorry. I have put in the value, but here also I have to put in the data A, B, C, and D. Okay. So now you can
But
see
what is
we
the
can
use of
only.
writing the same thing 2 times?
Okay, so this value can be like here you are. This value will be for the database. Okay. So if you are fetching it from, like, if here is let's say apple, like here is a list of fruits, and you want to store apple as option A in the database. Okay, so for that the value can be different, it doesn't need to be same, but here we have value and this thing same. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you are creating a MCQ or some quiz, so it can be ABC in the value, and here it can be some different thing. So now we can see that why is this section 2 times? Okay, yeah. So now you can see that we have name, class, and section. Now we want to know what is their favorite subject. Okay, so this form is to get to know the favorite subject of the student. Okay, so uh, for that we have input. So you can see that except this select tag, all these number and text was input, and just the value of the type attribute was changing. So now here we will have input, and here you can see that the value of type attribute here is radio. Okay, and uh, here we can have the data as maybe okay, so we have English, then we have SST, then maths, science, and second language. Okay, and I also need to put in BR tag. BR tag is optional for this, but you can add. Oh, okay. So here we can have this subject. Okay, so let's add a BR tag here also. Okay, let's do one thing. Just remove these BR tags. Yeah. So see, now you can see that this is a form to get to know their favorite subject, and you can have only one favorite subject, right? So but now you can see that you are able to select all 5 of them. So to avoid this, what you can do is put the name, if you put all the like the name for the value of name attribute for all the radio buttons same, say subject of let's favorite subject, then you can see that if I check English, then I try to click on maths, only one is getting selected. Okay, so radio buttons are generally made for this, so that the user can select at most one option. Okay, so are there any doubts? Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so again a BR tag, and suppose there are some terms and conditions for this uh, survey, so you can have input tab, a checkbox also. Okay, so you can see that the input tag, only the value of the attribute is changing. First we had text, then number, then radio. Now we are having a checkbox. Okay, and for the checkbox we can have I agree to terms and condition. Okay, so you can see you can check it, and yeah, so it is just acting as a checkbox. Okay, so and you must have seen that like I've checked it, and when I press on when I refresh the website, it is getting unchecked by default. But you can add checked attribute to make it checked by default. So when you refresh it, I'm not clicking it to check it, it is by default checked. Okay, so again a BR tab, and now let's have submit. So now we have the same input tag, but the value of type attribute is submit. Okay, so value will be okay. So if I don't put any value, you can see it's a blank button. But if you can write here submit or proceed, anything which you like. So submit. Now okay, you can see that you can check the URL. Okay, so if I add, you were talking about the action attribute, right? So if I add an action of submit, so by default it is okay, let's not get into post or get request. So you can just see the URL. Now when I click submit, see it is showing submit. The URL changed from index.html, it changed to submit. Okay, so that is the action, that is the use of action attribute. But for now, let's just ignore that. And this is the submit button. So yeah, we are done with the form. Any questions so far? Okay, so now let's move on with CSS. Okay, so let's just collapse this form. Now, okay, someone asked about table, right? How to add border to row. So I'm just making a table into row. Okay, what you can do is copy it from session 2 table. Okay, so you can see that the table which we had is here, which we made in our last session. Okay, so now let's start with CSS. Okay, so I hope I'm not missing any topic. So we did forms, input tag, selector. Okay, text area. Oh, I forgot about text area. Okay, so suppose you want the student to put in some, like you want to know why his favorite subject, like why he likes his favorite subject. Okay, so you can have a text area. Let's ignore name and ID. Okay, so you here you can write why do you like your favorite subject. Okay, so here the user can see that here you can put any number of input. Okay, so here you can only put one line of input, but here you can press enter and enter as many lines as you want. Okay, so
Yeah, but it depends on the limit that you enter there, right? Like columns and rows.
no, actually you can change the column and rows. Now I've changed the polynomials. Yeah, but there is a way to limit the number of inputs, but we can ignore it as of now. Okay, so the problem with this is that, okay, no, actually, okay, so you can see that here we have why do you like your favorite subject, and as soon as you input something, it is going away. So this is something known as placeholder. Okay, so suppose you don't want to write this enter your name here. Alternatively, write you can use the placeholder attribute and write name. So what this will do is, oh, I messed up something. Okay, so a wrong file is opened. Okay, so live server opened some wrong file. Okay, so now you have text area. Okay, so this was the problem I was talking about. So if you put in this text which you want to ask, like here you are asking why do you like your favorite subject, and if someone starts typing here maths is okay, so you can see that this user first needs to delete all this, and then he can start writing. Otherwise the whole text will be there in his response. Okay, so you can do one thing. You can use the placeholder attribute and put in your question right here. So what this will do is that you can see it is in it is for now the opacity is also quite less, and when you start typing, this question goes away. So maths is my favorite. Okay, so blah blah blah. So uh, now the user need not delete the whole thing, and that's the use of placeholder. So yeah, so I think we are done with forms. Label tag, we will be doing it after we are done with IDs and classes. So let's start with CSS. Okay, so there are three ways to include CSS. Like the first one is, let's work on this. Okay, so suppose you want to make this text bold. Let's not make it bold. Let's add a background color. Do simple things. Background color red. Okay, so you can see this way of writing CSS is inline CSS, and it is not a preferred way. Like it's not recommended to write this way. Okay, because if you have a very big document, then writing inline CSS, like it will be a mess if you write inline CSS. Okay, so it's just a way to write CSS. You can write it as an attribute. The other way is to include it in your head tag. Okay, so instead of writing it here, you can write it just in your inside of your head tag. So you can start the CSS in with style tag, and then you can write the CSS. But before we start writing CSS, you first need to select elements. Like here it was inline CSS, so it was understood that it will only apply to this element, right? But if you write something as background red, so nothing will happen because it doesn't know where to apply the background as red, right? So we need now comes CSS selector. So there are mainly four kinds of CSS selectors. First is the universal selector. So universal selectors is just a star. So what star means is that if there is some property which you want to apply to all the elements in the document, like in the HTML. So you can like it is a convention to write margin 0, padding 0. So in case there are some elements which have by default margin and
Shivansh,
padding. Yeah.
Shivansh, show IDs and classes first.
Okay. Yeah. So suppose we will only talk about background. Okay. So because we need something to show that IDs and classes are working, so we will only use background. So if I apply background red, so to all the elements, the background red property is being applied. Okay. So the other way to select tag is to apply CSS is to using the tag name. So if I want to apply background red to all the span, like here I have a span, here I have a span, so I can simply write the tag name span and it will apply the CSS to all the spans. So you can see that it is not being applied to the input tag or the select tag or the table. It's only being applied to the spans. Okay. So this is element selector. Next we have IDs. Okay. So we came across IDs, like we ignored it as of now, but now we will be starting with it. So ID. So inside of ID. So what's the difference between ID and a class? So ID, you can assign an ID. So you can understand ID as your admission number. So in the school, only one student can have like every student has a unique admission number. No two students can have the same admission number. Similarly, in the HTML document, only one element can have a specific ID. Okay, so if I have span1 as an ID for this, so I can't have the same ID for this. You will get an you will not get an error, but it's a wrong practice. Okay, so you will run into problem if you work in CSS or JavaScript, but for now you can just understand ID is unique and only one element can have a specific ID. Okay, so after this we have classes. So suppose there is some specific property like background red which you need to apply to multiple elements. So one way is to write style inline CSS, but it's a tedious job to do, so no one will do that. So what you can do is and if you use IDs, it will only apply to a specific element because only one element in the HTML can have a specific ID. And the other way is to, yeah, you may say that we can use span, but suppose I want to, I want background red in a table also. And so, and not in all the spans I want background red, only a few, in only a few spans I want background red. So writing a span here will not work. Okay, so we need something using which we can apply common CSS to multiple elements. So for that we have class. Okay, so you can define a class, like you can assign a class to an element with the class attribute. So for now, let's have span class. Oh, no, span, not span class. Okay, let's keep it span class. Okay, so span class. So the way to define CSS for IDs and classes is for IDs you use hash. So hash span1. So this will only apply to the element with ID span1. So if you want to declare CSS for ID, you use hash as the prefix. So as you can see, only to the element with ID as span1, the background red is applied. Next, for the class. So for class, the prefix is dot. So whenever you want to declare CSS for a class, you will use dot. So dot span class, and let's give this class to multiple elements. Okay. To input also to let's give it to table also. Okay. So you can see that the input, the span, and the table, all three of them had the same class, span class, and we declared the CSS for the span class as background red, so it is being applied to all three of them. Okay, so this is the funda behind class ID. We did class ID, tags, and universal selector. Yeah, so I think that's all. Now Gaurav will be taking over and explaining CSS, the real CSS. I only did background. Okay, so Gaurav, you are here, right? Okay, so
Yes,
any
can you
doubts as
enable
of now?
screen share?
Yeah, I'm doing that. Any doubts as of now? Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
in the form part, like we put
Yeah,
that
the border
option,
one.
right, class. So there, how to
Sorry,
limit the number of classes in the
number
form
of
part.
classes.
Yeah, I mean to say, like, it can reach unlimited numbers, right? So how to limit it from 1 to
No,
12?
there
That's
can,
why.
no, there can be multiple classes. Like you can have span class, then you can have a table class. Like this is not how
No,
you name
not that
No,
class.
no,
one,
no,
not
no.
that
He
one.
meant
The
the
form,
class, the form in the form, the class where
the
you enter
form.
your class 1 to 12, like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
he
yeah.
meant.
So
That one.
okay, so you can have this attribute called max length and min length. So
Oh,
min length will
you
specify
mean
the
that
minimum length, and
characters?
yeah, like just show them.
Okay, so max length equal to, let's say, 10. So here if I write A B C D E F G H I J K L, A B C D E F G H I J K, so I'm not able to enter K. Like I'm typing but I'm not able to enter. So in this way, like, but if you are creating actual form, then you don't use max length, because you will learn why we don't do this afterwards, when doing we will be introducing you the dev tool. But okay, so you talked about the form also, like how to apply a border to a row. So for that, okay,
Also show them
Gaurav,
the
can I?
label tag. Like you showed ID, so you can also show them label tag.
Okay, I will do that. But before that, like, okay, Gaurav, can I show the
Don't
border
go over.
also?
No, I'll show them box model. So just show them label for now.
Okay, okay, so uh, I can have. Okay, so uh let's add a checkbox here. Input checkbox, and with the ID hash check. Okay, so where is it? Okay, so here it is. Let's add a few of the PR tags. One more here. Too much better. And here we can have a span of checkbox. Okay, so I did it with span as of now, but you can see that to check this checkbox, you need to click this specific area, right? If you click here, it will not work. But if you use a label tag instead, and it is recommended that you use a label tag, then it will work. And label for then. Okay, so if you click on checkbox also, see, I'm clicking on checkbox and it toggles the selection, right? So that's the use of label. So yeah, you should use label in forms, but because it included the concept of ID. So I didn't tell you about it at that moment, but yeah, so you should use label. So if you put label here, you can see instant of span. TNC, and here you are the ID TNC. So if you want to toggle terms and conditions, so the user can easily click here and the selection will be toggled. Okay, so it's better to use label. And after this, okay, Gaurav, just show them, like you will be covering up the box model part. So just show them how to add border to table rows. Okay, so
Okay.
I think
I-
Nishan had the doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm stopping the
So
share.
can you enable screen share?
Yeah. Yeah, now you can.
Yes. So I'll be using these tabs as my shows okay.
Gaurav, your voice is
Um,
cracking.
So what will happen is okay, I'm gonna show this now. Am I audible now?
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Am I audible? Yeah, okay. So just ignore the
Yes, so I think Gaurav is having some connectivity issue. So for the time being, I will be starting off with CSS Joins. So the next topic is we did CSS Selector. Gaurav, are you back? Okay.
yes.
I'm stopping the share.
Speaking for last 3 minutes. Yeah, I'm sorry about my internet connection today. It's really not that well today. So I'll be showing this. I'll ignore the validator part for now. That's not important really right now. So let's go to CSS box model. I'll show you some examples. It is not visible. Okay. Or Shivan again becomes invisible, then this leaves them. Okay, I'll write some really quickly right now. Or okay. Session 3. So just show you all three writing CSS. The inline CSS, let's say you have a certain file which you apply to multiple files. So you need to store it somewhere else. So you'll use tag to do that.
Gaurav, your audio is
link
cracking.
tab is providing a link for your CSS.
Okay, so
Shivan,
I think
it's
yeah.
better that we should. My internet is not at all stable today.
Yeah, okay, so I will be continuing the part. So okay, so the next thing is background. Okay, so let's create a new file, it's really messed up. And let's just have some dummy text in it. Maybe 100.
Just show them external CSS right now, like how to link it.
Okay, yeah.
And
Yeah, so I talked about the inline CSS and the one which you can write in head. So there is one more way to write CSS, and if you are working on a large project, then it's recommended to do that. So I will create a CSS file style.css, and the thing which we were writing here, style, and then let's select the body tag, and background is maybe blue. Okay, let's make it cyan. Okay. Just a moment. Yeah. So if I open it with live server, so the same thing which you were writing in the style tag. Okay, so you can see the background property is being applied to my body element. So if you write the same thing in the style.css file, and for now, if you go, it will not work because you haven't linked it as of now. But link, if you go to link CSS, so the relation is style sheet, so it is a style sheet, as you know, because all the styling of the HTML will be in the CSS file, and this href. So the way we were linking the images, the same way we will link the CSS file. So it is in the same folder. So the path is just style. Or the name of the file style.css, and you can see that the here I don't have any of the CSS in the document, but I'm using it externally from the from style.css file. Okay, so let's work with style.css as of now. So first thing we have is background. Here you can, no, background is a shorthand, so background color. Okay, so background color, you can see that VS Code is automatically suggesting me, giving me a list of colors. So let's go for this this color. Okay, so in this way you can. So is there anything in chat? Let me just check. Okay, so Arik was. Okay, Arik asked.
Do we
Okay,
need
so
to
I'm
type
not.
body background color or just background color? Because it's just going to show the full thing to be green, right?
No, that's what I was talking about. If I just write background color, so the CSS doesn't know to which element do you want to ever apply it to. So I'm not getting it as a background color. If you want to apply it to each and every element, then you can use this universal selector. But we don't generally do that. We don't apply the same background color to each and every element. So if suppose you want to apply it to a div, so I hope you all are familiar with div. So Sushmit did one class with you all. You all are familiar with div, right? Okay, so Arik was asking image was SRC attribute and anchor was href. Okay, so yeah, you are right that this is href and that is SRC. So, but the way we define the path is the same. Okay. So the attribute may be different, but the way you link the file, the convention of naming the of naming the path is the same. Okay. Okay. The recording I will ask Suchishmit. And okay, so for those who missed that class, div is just a container tab. You can put all any content within it, and yeah, it just acts as in short, you can understand it as a container tab, and you can put paragraph, image. Okay, I don't have any image as of now. Suppose I put a span within it. Lauren 20. Okay, so it's just a, you can understand it just as a container tab. So if I apply this color to this div, so you can see that this div has the background color is applied only to this div and not to the whole body. But if I apply it to the whole body, then you can see that to the whole page it is applied because this whole page is the body of the HTML. Okay. So the next thing which we will be doing is background image. Okay. Here you need to type in URL, and inside this URL, like you link your image in the HTML, like image src, then inside the src, the way you link the image, the same way you need to do it here also, but I don't have image as of now. Exactly. So I will just get some image from the internet. Okay, let's take this one. Copy image address. Okay, in the URL, you can just paste it, and was okay. So you can see that the image is applied to the back as a background. Okay, so now you can see that it is repeating, right? Like it is repeating in the vertically and horizontally, both way. So in case you don't want it to repeat, you can use background repeat. Backdrop, sorry, background repeat. And if you put no repeat, if you don't want it to repeat, then it will just be the image, like it's the original size of the image, so it will not repeat. Then you can write repeat x. So repeat x will repeat it in the x like in the x-axis, like horizontally, and similarly you can use repeat y. Okay, so that's it. But let's just comment this out. Okay, yeah. So as you have seen that in this HTML, in HTML, we used to comment this way, like this is my HTML file. So you don't want this to be shown on the web page. So what you did was you just commented this out like this, right? So in the CSS also, you may want to add a few CSS, a few comments like this is my CSS file. Okay, so you can comment it using this backslash asterisk. Then at the end, you need to put asterisk and backslash again. Okay, so like this now is just a simple text, and CSS will ignore this line. So it's the same way as deleting this, but I'm commenting this out so that if you want to say it later. The next thing which we will be doing is background attachment. Okay, background attachment. Okay, attachment. Okay, so you can have scroll. So what this will do is that okay, so we don't have enough text. Okay, so now you can see that it is scrolling along with this. Okay, so you can use background attachments, but it is not really used anyway. Like you will not usually use background attachment. Next is background position. Okay, so background position can be, let's say, right, right. Okay, so what this will, let's just no repeat. Okay, so it has gone to the right, as you can see. Okay, so this is the user background position. So it has gone to the right of the page. Similarly, you can do right top. So it has gone to the right top part of the page. You can use right bottom, and similarly left bottom, left right, or left top, and things like that. You can play with it. And next we have this shorthand. Okay, so what you can do is you can write all of this which you wrote. Like we also had a background, let's say red. So all this which you wrote in 5 line of code, you can write you can write it in 1 line. Okay, so let's have color. Then you can have uh, sorry, there will be no comma. Then you can have image. Then you can have the repeat property. Like, do you want it to repeat or not? So let's say no repeat. And the position, so we will have right bottom. Okay, so, and if I comment all of this out, okay, so you can see that it's still working, because just you can write all these 5 lines in just 1 line. So this is the shorthand of background. Okay, so what do we have after background? Okay, text formatting. Okay, so any doubts in background, related to background? Okay, so you all wanted to be tomato. Okay, I hope this will make all of you happy. Okay, any doubt? Okay, no doubts, great. So now we come to, let's just remove this 1000 word paragraph. Okay, so just remove this ugly background. Okay, so this is our text. Okay, let's have a simple paragraph tag with 5 words. Okay, so now we are starting with text formatting. Okay, so the first thing which we will do is, okay, this gives an error if there is no CSS property declared within the element. Like you started with element tag, element, you started declaring the CSS for this element, but there actually is no CSS, so it will give an error. So for now, let's give a background of, yeah, okay. Now, to select this paragraph, I can do I can select it in many ways. First is using ID, so I can give p1, or using class, that can be p class, or I can directly select it using the tag name. Okay, so let's do it with the tag name paragraph. So if you want to align it centrally, so for that you will do text align center. Okay, So now you can see our text is centrally aligned. So you can do it left, right, or justify. Okay, so almost anything. So okay, center. Let's keep it center. Okay, I entered an image address and it's so long that now. Okay. Now moving on, after text alignment, we have color, text color. So suppose you want this text color to be white. Okay. So in that case, okay, I want to show you one thing. Suppose I want the background to be dark. Okay. So you can put black, but black, as you can see, is very dark. So if you hover over the color, if you take your mouse over the color, then you will get this a color picker, which is inside of the VS Code. You don't need to install anything else. It is inbuilt in VS Code, so you can choose any of the color from here. You can change. You can choose any shade. You can change the opacity. So for now, let's go for something dark. Okay. So you can see that the text is not visible. Okay. So you want to change the color of the text. So you can do it using color. Okay. So if you put if you use color attribute, then it will be color, and then you can type in any color. It may be white, maybe red, anything. So as you can see, it is white now. And after color, we have text decoration. Okay, so for text decoration, I want you all to see this anchor tag. So maybe okay, so let me link this presentation here, and presentation. Okay, so you can see that this is the presentation. Okay, so I don't want it to look like an anchor tag. I don't want it to be look like a hyperlink. Okay, so for that you can use anchor, and then you can define the color as white. Okay, but you see that still it is underlined. So you can remove this underline using text decoration. Okay, so if you put text decoration as none, then now you can see that it is not underlined. And if you click, you will get to the presentation. Okay, so, and in the same way, you can, if you want this paragraph, the text of this paragraph to be underlined, you can make it underlined. And there are many other properties, but like there is underline, solid, dotted will give you something like, okay, I haven't used them actually because they are it's very rare to use them. Overline, solid, underline, wavy. So you can experiment with them. Okay, so yeah, the next thing we have is text transform. Okay, so this is really interesting. Like if you want your heading to be, let's say, let's add something, Delhi public school. Okay, so you can see Delhi public school, but you want it like you it is a heading, so you want it to be in capital. Okay, so one way is that you can delete this and uh, turn on the caps lock and type Delhi public school. But suppose there is a whole paragraph, then it is not possible to type the whole paragraph again. So you can do text transform and capitalize. Okay, so what this will do is it will capitalize. So okay, it will not it will change the first letter of each word to the capital, and the rest will be in the smaller case. And if you do it uppercase, then all of the text will be in the uppercase, like Delhi Public School to be part. Okay. And similarly, there is lowercase. So everything will be in lowercase. And yes, that's it for text transformation. Next, we have letter spacing. Okay. So for letter spacing, suppose I want, let's do it uppercase. I want this to be far apart. Okay, so you can do this by adding 10 pixel letter spacing. So you can see the spacing after each of the letter is 10 pixel. Okay, so you can increase the text spacing using letter spacing using letter spacing. Next, we have line height. Okay, so suppose we have a paragraph with Lauren. Okay. Let's remove this. Let's change the type of tab. Let's make it span. Okay, so as you can see, let's add a PR here. So as you can see that suppose you want to increase the line height. Okay, so the height of the line is, as you can see, if you want to increase the line height, what you can do is you can set the span and then line height, then 20 pixel. Okay, so let's, okay, so you can see I wrote it as 200 pixels, so now it is quite visible. The spacing, like the height of the line has increased drastically. So yeah, in this way you can control the height of the line. And now we have text shadow. So suppose you want some shadow behind this, so you can have text shadow. Now let me type it out. So pixel, then maybe white only. Okay, so now you can see that there is some shadow. So what this is, like the first thing is the X offset. So it defines the shadow is 2 pixel below the original text. So if I do it 0 pixel, so it will be just behind the text. Now because of Y, you can see it like if I turn the Y offset also 0, so now you can see that it is just seems like the text is glowing, but you don't necessarily want
But
that.
if we do 2 pixel, why would it exactly shift diagonally? Why can't it shift horizontally or vertically?
No, it's actually moving vertically. Only like this one is X, then Y. Yeah, this is Y. So it is moving. Second. Okay, so you can see that it is only moving in the X-axis right now. It is quite visible, I think. And if you want it to move only in the Y-axis, then you can do it like this. Okay, so this is X,
Oh, so
this is
it's
Y.
like a coordinate system, yeah.
Yeah, and then this is the blur radius. Okay, so if you want it to be blur, then you can write 2 pixel. If you don't want it to blur, so it is looking like there are 2 text Delhi Public School, but we generally add blur, so it adds some shadow effect. And here you can specify the color, so any color. Okay, so that's it for the text shadow. Now we will be moving on to box model. Okay, so this is the box model. Okay, so it is just like you must have studied the model of an atom. It is similar to that. So in the center you have content, then you have padding, then you have border, then you have margin. Okay, so I will be showing you how it works, then you will understand it better. So as you can see, we have inside the span, we have the content. Now let's add some border first. Okay, so maybe 2 pixel solid, then white. Okay, so this 2 pixel is the weight of the border, like what do you want its width to be. Next, solid, you can have it dotted, but okay, here it is. So you can even have it dotted. Let's reduce the okay. So you can even have it dotted. Okay, let's not do this on this. Let's make it a div. Okay. Let's add ID to this. I want only for this div. So only this div. Okay. So now whatever I will be doing will only apply to this div. Okay. So you can see it is dotted. Let's keep it as solid and color as white. Okay. So like you can see that the border is actually touching the text, right? So you want some space between them. So for that, you have padding. Padding, you can have it as 10 pixel. So now you can see that there is some empty space between the text and the border. So as you can see here, this is the text, then is the padding, and after that we have the border, and after that we have margin. Okay, so suppose we have this div, and okay, let's work with spans for now. 2 span, one will be lorem 3, and this will again be lorem 3. Okay, so okay. So you can see that let's add let's make it a CSS to this color will be white, and border, let's add a little bit of border, 4 pixel solid white. Okay, so now you can see that they are actually merging with each other in a way. Like you can see that there is no space between them. So if you want to add space, then you can use margin. So let's say 15 pixel. So now you can see that there is a 15 pixel space between them. Okay, so that's for the margin. Next we have colors. Okay, so color. So for as of now, we were defining color as white or red or tomato. So, but you can see that here it is something else. It's in RGB. Okay, so RGB is just another way to write color. So I can write white as RGB. So the values within it are like the first one is red, like this here. This 32 is how much red you want, how much green you want, and how much blue you want. So if you, and the maximum value is 255. So if you put all of them as 255, then it becomes pure white color. And if you decrease, let's say this to 0, then it becomes something like this. Then If this is 0, then so the red is 0, green is 0, and everything is blue. So the color itself is blue. And if you put all of them as 0, then it becomes black. Okay, so yeah, that's it. And there is similar another unit, RGBA, similar to this, but apart from these three values, there is one extra value, which is the opacity. So this opacity, let's not or let's add a background color of RGBA 255, 255, 255, and let's have one for now. So you can see that it is fully white. But if I reduce the value of this, you can see that it's getting fader. And if I keep it 0.2, so it's really the strength of white is really less. Okay, so this is actually the alpha value of this. The A stands for alpha. So you can play with it and you can try it out. And after this, we have finally the hex value. Okay, so within VS Code, you can switch between different types of values. Like if you click here, this is the hexa value, this is HSL. It is not that common, so we will not be covering, doing HSL. But suppose this is RGB, the hex value for this is hash 000000. So this is the red part. The first two digits are the red part. The next two digits are the green part, and the another two digits are the blue part. So it's same, but the difference is that instead of the numerical values, we use the hexadecimal value. So the white is FF. So FF stands for 255. In hex value, FF is 255. This is also 255, and this is also 255. So this is pure white. So this is colors, different types of different ways of writing colors, and you can change between them by clicking here. So you can convert RGB to its hex value and HSL like this. So are there any questions? Okay, so okay, I was not checking the charts. Entered an image. Okay. Okay, so are there any fixed type of tags, or we can create our own tags? So you can create your, like, you can't create your own tag, you can put in your own tag, but obviously HTML will not give you any error. Like it in C++ or Python, if you program, then it will give you error, but in HTML you really don't get error. But it is not a good practice to define your own tags. Okay, so just stick with the tags which are predefined in HTML. Next is fuse, React, SMA, etc. Okay, Muhammad Raza. Yeah, you are right. Text shadow, blur radius. Okay, yeah. Oh, I skipped this spread radius, right? Thanks, Gaurav, for reminding me. So we will, yeah, here. So you can have a spread radius of 10 pixels. So what this will do is that, where was it? Text shadow. Where is this paragraph, right? Totally exhausted. How many hours have we? Oh, it's approximately 1.5 hours. Okay, so Yeah, this fourth value is the spread radius. Okay, I don't know why it is not working. 2 pixel, 2 pixel, 2 pixel. Ah, why is this not working? Paragraph. Okay, not this. Okay, for due to some reason it is not working. So let's leave that. But the fourth value is, and I'm not in a situation to inspect what the problem is. But yeah, the fourth one is blur radius. You can try it out. Go to the W3 schools. You can check that out. And almost everything is there. Logic continues. Okay, after this, refer to this. Okay, HTML color codes. Thanks, Arif, for sharing the resource. And yeah, so are there any doubts? Okay, you all understood now what I explained.
Yeah.
Okay. Gaurav, is there anything you want to add?
Okay, since the topics for today are covered and I know my internet is not that stable, so I'll try to demonstrate how to create like a simple page. So Shivansh, can you stop screen sharing as share my screen? And, just wait a minute.
Also, whatever we are teaching, like uh, you have a week-long time in between classes, so try out make some websites. Okay, and if you think it is good, like you can share with us. We all can view. You can share in Dev General, right?
Okay, so I'll share. I'll make a quick website right now. If my internet goes bad again, then that will be the end of the session for today. So this is the page right now. So like let's make like could someone suggest a topic? Like, just suggest a topic. Is it possible to have a backend without a team through AI bots? Ishan, what do you mean to say?
Backend is basically like a server, so there'll be people operating the server, right?
You can
So
have
can
single.
there
You can
be
have
a
a. You
backend?
can have an yeah, you can have a single person operating it, or even automation works like the Discord bots which we have. They are automate. They can be automated. You can have a person operating it, updating it, but essentially those bots are working on their own. So yes, it's possible to have like it's really not possible to operate the see the reason why we have people looking after backend is that we have new technologies coming out every day and there are some issues or bugs which could be encountered. So to deal with that, we have people looking after these things. So if you have a very big project, it's not really possible for a single person to look after it. And as we know about AIs and bots, they are not really that capable of detecting everything like compared to humans. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So like could someone just give me a quick topic? So like I'll make a website on that. Like a simple topic because we have only 5 or 6 minutes, I guess. Okay, no topic. I'll just make anything for now. So we this was done last year. So if you were there with us last year, you know about this one. Okay, so I'll make a website showing some properties right here, which you do care about in particular. We not taught you in internet debt again. Okay, then let's stop it. There's no point in showing it because the internet is not working. Shivansh, let's wrap it up. Okay.
Just a last thing. Nishan, you asked that how to add border to a row. So like we selected the paragraph using the P and then defining the CSS. Similarly, you can, instead of P, you can write TR, and then inside the CSS, you can define border as whatever you want, 2 pixel solid black. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So about this week's assignment, see, most probably we won't be having a session next because like we might have some work on earlier, like we had informed earlier. So this week's assignment is basically just like last week, make a website. Yes, I'm telling the assignment right now. I hadn't told earlier. So
Yeah, actually, your voice is
whatever,
cracking.
Shivansh, do the honors.
Okay. So we may not be able to conduct sessions next week. So if there will be any homework, so we will be posting it on Discord. So please be active on Discord. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm totally exhausted.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Gaurav,
we
please do so.
end the
Change your
session.
voice.
Uh, uh, yes, I'll look after that. So this is the ending of the session. So if you have any questions, you can post it on the Discord channels. And you have 2 weeks time. Just plan out anything and just make a decent website, like with what Shivansh basically showed you all today. And you always have two, three schools and
Double three
other
schools.
resources to refer to for something advanced. Yes. And the basic thing about front-end development is because you won't know those terms all the times. You'll get an idea. Suppose you want to create a rotated emoji or something like that. So just think it and just search it on. You'll get millions of results. Just pick any of them, look into it, and you'll get to know how to do things. So like that's how we both learn. So that's how you can learn as well. So it's not that you need to depend upon the sessions alone. Okay, let's wrap it up then.
Okay, Gaurav, should we show them the dev tool of Chrome?
Which one?
Or should we do
Uh,
like how to inspect a page?
developer tool. Let's do
Yeah.
it next time. It's been 1.5 hours. People are exhausted, I guess.
Oh, okay. So we will do that in the next session. So just make
Okay.
a website which you like and do submit it, host it on Netlify. You can host as many pages as you want
Okay.
and share them. Okay.
Yes. So about Netlify, if you're facing problems, then you can use CodePen. There's no hard and fast rule. The only reason is it's easier for us to validate your website using if it's hosted somewhere. So I'll paste a link right now in the chat. Just search on internet that how you can use this to validate your website. Basically, this will tell you whether your website is following all the syntax correctly or not. It also reduces the burden on us. So yeah.
And also, if you use CodePen, then don't put head tag. Okay, so in CodePen, you don't write HTML and head tag. Just directly start with the content of the body. Okay. So if you are using CodePen, but do try to host it on Netlify. Okay. So I think
Yeah,
that's it for this session.
anything.
GitHub pages works, right?
Can you repeat?
Could you repeat it?
GitHub pages works, right, for hosting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You see, Netlify is I suggested because it's relatively easier. There's also GitHub pages and there's also Heroku. And my only suggestion to you people is that do not buy domain and hosting right now because you're not making something commercial or a very large project. So that's why we are using these services. Also, since you're using Netlify, do check out the documentation. Since we did forms today and Shivan showed only the front portion, right? Like we are not doing backend right now. But the Netlify API allows you to use their syntax. You can use that API to send to create submittable forms. So basically, if someone submits some data, then it will be stored in the Netlify database, and then you can access it through your account. So you can check the Netlify API, like just search for how to use Netlify forms. And yeah, that's all I guess.
Yeah. So I think I'm ending this session. Thanks all for attending.